What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage coming to you live out of San Diego. So I'm in San Diego. I'm speaking tomorrow morning for the American Dream TV show. Super pumped. But right now, I am super pumped to interview Sean Herrero. What's up, Sean?
Everyone? What's up, Dave?
What's up, man? So I knew you were working on this video, but you launched your GaryVee response today, and it is exceptional.
Thank you. It took longer than expected, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you knocked it out of the park. Yeah, you did have fun. And while I have seen a lot of responses, I mean, I'm sorry for all my other friends that did them. Yours is my favorite.
Thanks.
Of course, you gave Mortgage Coach some love. I think it was about 3 minutes and 3 seconds into the video. You did a rip versus own, which I thought was cool. But I want to start like why you did the video. I want to talk a little bit about the video. Before I do that, just for anybody who doesn't know who you are or where you're at, I know you are in your adventure van. If you wouldn't mind just tell everybody about your mortgage practice and your production, and then let's get into this video.
Yeah, so my name's Sean Herrero, mortgage advisor in Northern California, kind of Silicon Valley, San Francisco area. I've been in mortgage for 18 years. I've been originating for just 2 years. This will be my 3rd year. I like to do things a little different. I'm very mobile. I converted a Sprinter van, doing the van life thing, into a work Playmobil. So this is my office, but I can also go climb, fish, take my son dirt biking, whatever, out of the same car. So it just enables me to be anywhere and everywhere. Last year I did 42 million. The year before I did 30 million. Those are my first 2 years. So I'm slowly getting to where I want to be.
So guys, did you catch that? I mean, first year as a producer. Now, again, the guy has a mortgage backstory. He knew the mortgage business. He, is an incredible salesperson, business development, human being. But first year in the mortgage business, 30 million, 40 million. Dude, you're already one of the top 1%, and you're going to be one of the top 100 loan officers if you want to be. If that's the life balance you want to have.
100%. I gotta do it.
Yeah.
Gotta get there.
All right. So you kill it. You use Mortgage Coach, right? I mean, that's
yeah. And I started using Mortgage Coach way before I was originating. I was showing originators how to use it. That's why I learned it, because I just think it's such a valuable tool. I use it on every single client.
Yep. So he is an advisor. I think that'll be very clear just from the conversation we have. I'm going to put a link to some past interviews I've done with Sean, because one of the reasons I wanted to interview you because of the GaryVee video, but I also wanted to do it because the way you did the rip versus own, I think is just a skill that mortgage advisors should have. I mean, you didn't just do the typical Mortgage Coach rip versus own. You did some moves. But let's start with GaryVee. Why'd you do that response? What was in your heart when you did it?
So I'm a huge GaryVee guy. The way I look at our industry is obviously changing dramatically. So is real estate. And so I'm never trying to get mad about why it's changing. I'm just trying to embrace that it's changing. And GaryVee speaks to a lot of that, right? So I'm always kind of thinking, what's next? And when I saw that video that he did, I was a little bit shocked by it, to hear him make such like a very bold blanket statement with very little data behind it. It was just very opinionated. And I think a lot of people got mad at the video, and they were just more inclined to just talk bad about it. But I think he gave all of us, especially the Mortgage Coach community, a layup. We all get a great opportunity to speak to, maybe GaryVee's been right about a lot of things, but maybe he missed the mark here, or maybe it was just misinterpreted. And that's really why I made it. Really, I think what it started with is I made like a little joke part in the first 30 seconds to get people's attention. That just seemed fun. And then from there, I was like, this is a great opportunity to show how I think things might be different. My fear is so many people hang on his every word that a lot of people would just go, okay, GaryVee says never buy a house. I'm never going to buy a house. And that's scary to me.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, for sure, I think he led with that message, but at a minimum, he's going to get people to embrace the side of why buy a house,
right,
at the sacrifice of capital I put into my entrepreneurial vision. And then where I always come at it from is, hey, different strokes for different folks. And also at different seasons of our lives, we're going to make different decisions. based off of our own personal goals, our own personal assumptions, and then let's localize those things, and then let's make an informed choice. And that's what I love about what you did, is you didn't get mad. You just said, hey, let's get the data out and let's help some consumers make an educated decision. And then you took some assumptions in a rent versus own. So why don't we, unless you want to put any more color on the GaryVee video, which I am putting down below. So if you're watching this in YouTube, there'll be a link to Sean's amazing video. I think anybody who believes what I believe, and I believe that if you are not an advisor, if you're not using media, you are going to get crushed by loan officers that do. Like, I don't think the disruptors or the technology companies are going to take out loan officers, but I think the mortgage pros, the local mortgage pros like Sean, that are delivering advice and leveraging media, are absolutely going to take market share from those who don't. So if you believe that, I would study what Sean did here. I think it's something, I don't care who you are, you should study it, you should respect it, and it's just good leadership on your part, brother. Anything else on it?
How often do we get to debate with GaryVee, right? I mean, this might be the only time I get to kind of go back and forth with him without him knowing. But no, I mean, I guess for me, I bought my first house when I was 20. So I've never understood renting. I never rented. So for me, it was, why can't you do both? Why can't money multitask? And that's what I missed on his message. And I just really want people to understand their options. Get educated, then make a decision. So that was kind of the premise behind it.
Cool. Well, let's show your screen and let's improve everybody's skills on how they would do a rent versus own. So I'm gonna insert some color in this, but why don't you walk it through the community the way you want to walk it, just knowing that you're a, call it advice trainer for mortgage coach. Give everybody some advice on your advice.
Okay, yeah. So basically, the way that I like to do rent versus own, most of my clients, I'm 37. Most of my clients are about my age, if not younger. And I always start with rent versus own. In the Bay Area, renting tends to be expensive. So I always use this to just show them, what if you turned your rent into a mortgage? And that's where I wanted to start with this. But I went a little deeper than I normally do, because normally when we're having that conversation, it's about monthly payment. With what GaryVee said, being upfront capital, it was more about upfront cash. And that's why I built this the way I did. So
hey, real quick, before you get into it, scroll to the top real quick. Now, I want everybody to call out, because the way I look at this is personally branded advice experience. It's got company brand. It's got the photo that you're very intentional that you want to put in there. Also, is this the view that you always use? I think in the video you might have used the more linear.
No, I always use side by side. I don't like the scroll down. I love the side by side so you can see it all at once. It's just easier for me to walk people through it when I'm doing
not a problem.
Consultation over the phone.
I wanted to get your perspective on that. So
yeah, this is my favorite view.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, cool. So Gary, the premise, and Dave, interrupt me anytime if I'm not, following the right path. But the premise was buying a house is bad use of upfront capital. And my mind went to, I don't understand what he means by that. Maybe he means paying cash is a bad idea. And if you haven't used a TCA to do a cash versus mortgage analysis, that's an easy one to do, because it's always going to make more sense from, I call it making money multitask. You can make money in the markets while your appreciation is happening in your home using someone else's money. So I started there. So I built in my rent payment of $3,000, trying to be conservative. I wanted the numbers to kind of match. I wanted it to fit my market. So that's kind of why I started with $3,000. And I said, okay, well, maybe what GaryVee meant was paying cash if you're going to buy a home for $650,000, investing $650,000 of upfront capital into a home, maybe I would agree that's a bad idea. That's a bad use of upfront capital. You don't have to do that to purchase that asset. So I just wanted to be able to speak to that first and show people what that would look like. So far, so good?
So far, so good.
Okay, cool. So kind of get rid of the why cash is a bad idea and say, well, what if you just did 20% down using the traditional numbers? So if we do 20% down, I built in cash to close with real fees from a local title company to make sure it's accurate and honest. You'd put in 137. So now you have $500,000 working somewhere else for you. So you still purchased a home, but to Gary's point, you freed that upfront capital to do other things for you.
And I think, real quick, I do want to insert, because in Gary's response, not in the initial rant, he talked about there's just better things to do with 100 to 200. So I like the way you went all cash. Then I like the way you 20% down, which my takeaway from what Gary said is that's what he thought. Like, you need to put 20% down to buy a house, and that was where he was coming from. And so I love the way you all cash, 20% down, and now Sean Herrero, mortgage advisor.
Yeah, and so and that's for all of us. I think the internet has painted this picture of you have to do 20% down. We all know that's not true. I don't like when I talk to clients, they say, I'm not going to buy, I'm going to wait till I have 20% because they're losing so much money over time. That's another thing that I'll use TCA to show them. So this is kind of the fun thing about making this video to really talk to GaryVee was I got to put a lot of ideas together. So then what I said is, coming from an upfront capital perspective, okay, don't put 20% down. Let's use even less upfront capital. Now you're only investing $45,000. You have $600,000 doing other things for you. And then where I go from here, I think all of us, it's hard to see 20 years into the future, but I don't think looking 3 years in the future is very difficult for most people. So that's what I love about doing the tax benefit analysis over 36 months. This chart here is hands down my favorite. I use this more than anything else when I'm presenting a TCA to someone.
Hey, bring it up just a little bit, because it might be just my screen, but I'm not seeing the whole report.
Oh, better?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, cool.
And everybody, I am putting a link to this report down below so that you can actually pull up Sean's actual total cost analysis and look at it. So if there's some numbers that aren't rendering here, I really recommend that when you watch this video, whether you watch it on your phone or your computer, you have the total cost analysis on one screen, so you have the full report, and then you're listening to this interview, from another device. I think that would be the best educational way for you to really get something from this that you can use in the marketplace. Keep going.
Cool, thank you. So the tax benefit analysis, I always set it up this way because I want to show someone short term. You might not be able to see 20 years into the future, but you can see 3 years. And this is kind of, to me, when showing rent versus own, this is the most compelling screen to show a first-time home buyer, because you can quickly show them that in rent, you're going to spend $113,000. I always use 5% rent increase. So $113,000 over the next 3 years in rent. It's done nothing. It's put a roof over your head, but it's really done nothing else for you. If you pay cash, so using this example, you put down $650, and now you have $710. Not that impressive of a return on investment, right? And we already said that was kind of a bad idea. But if I go to 20% down, now I've turned 137 into 217. It's almost doubled your money. And then if you do 5% down, I've turned 45,000 into 124. So that's what, 3x?
3x, right? Yeah. That's return on investment, right?
So 300% return over 3 years, and you have a ton of upfront capital to use other places. So my favorite part of this is you're going to continue to rent for 3 years. It's going to cost you $113,000. Or if you converted your rent into a mortgage, put 5% down, you'll have $124,000. $45,000 of that you invested. The difference is kind of, I don't want to say free money, but it's money you got just by converting rent into a mortgage. So this is my favorite screen for doing rent versus own comparisons.
Love that. And then you took it even further. So in the video, you did the 3 year, and then I think you did 20 years. Yeah,
and so this is where I don't get to use the reinvestment strategy as often. So this TCA is great. You're literally using basically every angle of mortgage coach that you can. So then, okay, we get that it makes sense in 3 years. Well, the long term, what happens? Is this right?
Hey, and maybe back out, because we're seeing your screen. We're not seeing the whole screen. Okay, I can see it pretty good now.
So make it smaller, like this?
Or we want to be able to see more of the screen. Yeah, there you go. That's perfect.
That looks good? Okay.
That looks good for me.
Where's my other data? Okay, I'll just do this.
And just remember, everybody, you can look at the whole screen. So hear him talk, and you have the sample report to review. But I see it perfectly now. This is perfect.
Okay, cool. So now I just want to focus on the net worth in 20 years. Is that view okay, Dave, or no?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, good. So then the long term. So what I did is, again, making money multitask. You have all this extra capital. You freed up all this upfront capital to do what GaryVee says you should do. What does that look like? Well, in 20 years, by having money work in the markets for us, I've turned 45,000 into 4.5 million, right? And that is appreciation in my home, as well as earning, I think I did 9% in the markets using the S&P 500 historical average, I think 90-year average, which everyone can relate to. It's not some random number I pulled out. But that is really just showing how not only real estate, but compounding interest works. So we're showing them every angle of how they can use their money. We're not just coaching them on how to get a mortgage. We're coaching them kind of on the whole financial picture. I just think it's a better idea than not buying a house.
Yeah, well, I think you crush it. This is a 2.0 rent versus own analysis. I don't think everybody who's listening to this. I'm not saying every time you do a rent versus own, show all 100% down or 100% purchase. That's not right for everyone. You got to make sure you tailor this. Sean created this for the GaryVee example, just to show utilization of capital and ROI, and I think he did a really effective job of it. And I do think that there are times, not often with first-time buyers, but you're dealing with cash all the time, and depending on what market you're in, with move-up buyers, you're having to do a move-up analysis and show mortgage versus cash, and if you want to be the next gen loan officer that kills it for many years to come, you need to know how to do that. Sean, do you do many cash versus mortgage analysis?
I've done them a handful. So I think I gave you an example earlier. I'll give real quick. I had a client call, startup guy, first-time buyer, had 8 figures with Morgan Stanley. His advisor told him to reach out to me because he didn't think that whatever other arm was their bank.
Hey, by the way, Sean, stop sharing your screen so we can see you as we close out this conversation.
Got it? Okay.
Okay,
So
perfect.
this is an easy way to talk to the cash versus finance idea. Even if you don't have the opportunity to do a TCA, I like to illustrate everything I talk about. So I use TCA a ton. But guy calls me and he goes, well, I'm thinking of buying a home for $3 million. I have 8 figures with Morgan Stanley, did really well with the startup. And he just asked me, what do you think I should do? Should I pay cash? And I said, well, think about that. If you take $3 million out of your investments and your home appreciates 10%, you got a 10% return on your initial investment of $3 million. Not bad. I said, but if you put 20% down, you're investing $600,000. And if you get a 10% return, that's $300,000. Now you got a 50% return on your initial investment while you had $2.4 million working in the markets for you. So I just never understand why it would be a good idea to pay cash for a property. I've never found a good example, and I haven't had anyone be able to tell me why. But that's an easy talking point, right? You're getting 50% return on an initial investment versus 10%. And then you have more money working elsewhere. And then
do you mind
TCA?
Yeah. Do you mind, as a follow-up, if you sent me a link to one of your cash versus mortgage, and I put that link down below?
Yeah, so, I'll just quickly make exactly what I just described, and then I'll send that to you to link.
Okay, so anybody watching this, there'll be 2 TCAs. There'll be one that we talked about and showcased, and that'll be the rent versus own in response to GaryVee. And then the second one will be, mortgage versus free and clear. And hopefully you got value from this. My goal is to teach you mortgage strategies so that you can listen to a client. What are their hopes, dreams, goals? What are their assumptions? Localize the data and create a total cost analysis so they can make an informed decision.
Right.
That's what we're both advocates for. And, hey, there are some people that, have different goals and they have different priorities. But your job as a mortgage professional is just help them make the most informed decision. So as we wrap this up, Sean, any advice for, loan officers that are watching this, that they're either picking and choosing who they give a TCA to, or they're just not using the total cost analysis yet? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, for me, what I always tell my clients is I don't want you to trust my professional opinion. Take my opinion for what it's worth. Use the data and the analysis to make your decision. So I'll give you my opinion while we're talking through a TCA, but make a decision on data. Don't make a decision on one person's point of view. And I use TCA literally with every single client. If nothing else, I use it to compare different rates once they're in contract to find which rate's the best, because the lowest rate isn't always the best rate. But I can't find a reason not to use it, I guess, is the best way to put it.
So get after it, guys. Hopefully you got value from this. If you did get value, give it a like below, share it with your mortgage friends. And Sean, appreciate you making time to bring this to the mortgage coach community, brother.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Take care, man.
All right, bye, you guys.